Yeah, so anyway, Ray DeVito sent me that video, and he really was having sex with Blair White. It was good stuff, but I'll edit that out during the release.
Wow.
Yeah, we can't have that on air. He's going to get pissed.
I would never badmouth Ray DeVito, especially considering what we know he's guilty of this past week.
But now I don't think we've really determined who did it. I mean, I certainly am not off the hook.
Well, I'm not saying it was Ray DeVito, but it was definitely Ray DeVito.
Oh, that clears it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Plus, he sold drugs to kids. I'll edit all this part out, though, of course. Tell those kids to do a drop off. Anyway. Hey, everybody. Hey, how's it going? We're all having a good time. Yeah. Welcome in for this round table of manly men. I say that sarcastically. You bunch of we have got two debuters and a thrice returner. That means 3 times, by the way. I'm just being really intelligent and hilarious at the same time. Well, first, I'd like to introduce, some people are born handsome. Some people are born gorgeous. But then some people are born horrible. I'd like to welcome here El Horrible. How you doing, boss?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm too messant to be here today, Hughezy. How are you?
I'm illuminous, luxurious, and decapitated.
Wonderful. All fantastic words.
Thank you. And so are you. Also, welcome him back for the 3rd time. And I think it might be 3 episodes in a row, or maybe not. Who cares? It's the shortest guy in the world. Even shorter than his temper. Stevie Lou. Stevie, how you doing?
Hey, guys. I want to check in with everybody. How is your eye sockets doing? Does anybody have any?
I'm good.
Okay, you guys all look good.
And the debuting today, a guy who steals so many shows that it's part of his show title. I have dyslexia. The host of Steel Toe, it's Aaron Imholte. Aaron, I'm a holiday old. How's it going?
Thank you. Oh, it's going wonderful, Hughezy. There's only one problem with this setup, and it's yours, so I don't want to criticize too much, but I just want to say before we start, if you don't get Stevie Lou the fuck out of here, then I'm leaving. You kick him out. I will fucking leave.
I can't take this, man. It's so.
I love that episode, the Gino Carl episode, because one, I think Carl nailed it early on. Why did you even ask the rest of them to be there if you were going to have Gino? And number 2, out of nowhere, and I know Stevie has taken some responsibility and maybe was a little too gracious. I was listening to it and I was shoveling snow because we live in Minnesota. And I remember thinking, Jesus, that kind of came out of nowhere. I don't really know if Stevie Lou deserved such treatment from friend Gino Bisconte, but still, I thought a little aggressive.
Well, I would bet that shoveling of a form of snow was sort of added to Gino's temperament at the time of recording.
Oh my God!
Hughezy really just doesn't learn the word allegedly. He refuses to.
Allegedly, yeah.
He said he was on a juice cleanse, and I'm pretty sure that's code word for something else.
Oh. Yeah, the Orenthal Juice Simpson cleanse. So what we're going to do, by the way, look at that glorious pint. Of course, I fucked it up. It's fucking green screen pile of shit.
Yeah, your shoulders keep disappearing.
Yes, you're a one-armed man.
Yeah, that's because I don't really work out that much anymore.
Yeah, you got no shoulders, just like Joe DeRosa over there.
Oh my God, that's yeah. There's more sandwiches in that guy's life than there is in Amy Schumer's legs. That fat bitch. I hate her so much. So
allegedly.
I allegedly hit that big fat bitch, that fat hack fucking ugly Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennard looking her. And by the way, I'll never forgive Opie or Anthony for allowing her on the air and giving her the shot at fame, because it's their fault.
Is it their fault, or is it Anthony Jeselnik's for writing all her jokes when they were dating?
Well, it's Patrice O'Neill's fault for writing all his jokes because that fat bitch fucking stole them all and influenced her own career. By the way, you know the way Steven Seagal has a bad reputation in Hollywood for how he would have scripts rewritten so that it would put him into sex scenes so he could grope women and do all this shit. Well, that fat bitch did this film called Trainwreck. It's really funny. And in it, they had John Cena, who was so heartbroken over the fact that Amy Schumer didn't want him, that he walked off into New York City at night alone, heartbroken. And there was guys fighting over her. And I think that is based on fact. But anyway, just poured myself.
Really quick. If you get beat up by two guys tonight and they say, don't fuck with Schumer, we just want to make sure that you're aware that you've done this to yourself.
You have set yourself up for this.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I thought I would break podcasting ground, something that nobody has done before, which is something that I love to do. For example, when I was in London last August, I went to visit Abbey Road Studios. And I had this incredible idea for a photo where I said, hey, take a photograph of me crossing the zebra crossing at Abbey Road Studios, like the Beatles. Zebra. And I'll take a photograph of it, put it online, and it went viral. I got 8 likes. So I pretty much run Instagram. Because I know how to run the Instagram world, or should I say the podcasting world, I've thought, hey, what about this for a topic of conversation? Chad Zumock. Nobody's thought of that over the past couple of hours. So I've got to say,
if there was a God in heaven, that would be true.
Allah in heaven, just saying.
Oh,
thank you.
Sorry.
Praise him. But
hold on, I got a picture of Muhammad over here. Let me just pull it up.
No, don't. Oh, go.
I want to see.
Okay, I won't.
I'm sorry, it's not my show. You go ahead and do whatever you want to do.
All Muhammad photographs can be found on Patreon. But I've got to ask you, of course, we'll start with the arm of this one, and then we'll get El Hughezy and Stevie's input.
Arm.
I've always said that in the past year, maybe year and a half, it's the greatest time ever to be a podcasting fan. People may not be doing like millions and billions of download numbers, but there's so many great shows out there that you've got to check out. El Hughezy's got a great show. Stevie Lou has a great 17 shows that he's on. And of course, you've got Steal the Show, Steel Toe Morning Show. I'm just calling back to a hilarious joke from earlier.
So many of them.
So yeah, it's just I'm on a roll and Coke. So so we've got to say one of the things that I love about podcasting these days is the feuds, because they just come out of nowhere and they go from 0 to 100 like within a 48-hour period. Your feud with Chad Zumock, it really got intense really fast. It was like a badly written, you know what it reminded me of? Spider-Man 3, where the black suit turned up and Spider-Man went bad and Eddie Brock got the suit and Venom died all within an hour and a half. You think, what the fuck is this? You know, and that's how I would describe your feud with the Z-Man. So from your perspective, before further questioning, tell us about the legacy of this classic feud that has happened between yourself and the Z-Man.
Well, what it's kind of taught me is there's a big difference between radio guys, which is where I come from, Anthony comes from, and comedians. Radio guys have this attitude of, we'll go on the air, we'll talk shit about someone's show, we'll make fun of them. It's funny, it's great content. Comics, especially ones that have been around a long time and maybe aren't where they want to be, a lot of their hostility and anger and frustration with their business kind of gets projected out there, and it goes to like a complete new level. Like for me, it started out as Chad was clearly coming in back in like November or something to grift on the Stuttering John stuff. Actually, it might have been October, September. It doesn't matter. And we played a video of it and we went, oh no, like we just immediately went, no, this guy's trying to jump in and do a thing. And like, you know, it's so forced. And he really took exception to it and started having these meltdowns about Carl, Anthony, and myself. And in a roundabout way, I thank you. I kind of have Chad to thank for, you know, kind of the weird relationship now, or the little combining of Compound Media and Steel Toe and us being kind of, you know, close with those guys, is that it was Carl, Anthony, and myself, it seemed. And every time Chad would have a meltdown, he'd yell about us, about Chrissy, and then we'd make fun of it. That just became the cycle. It became Chad gets mad at us because we made fun of him. We have another thing to make fun of him about. He just kind of refused to make it funny. And every time he would get made fun of, there would be another personal, hostile element to it. And we all just were having a great time with it. I'd text Carl, you know, we'd be like, God, did you see what the fuck he did now? And then eventually it got to him like saying that my ex-wife is accusing me of abusing my current wife and he doesn't pay his child support and like crazy shit. And I'm going to have her on my show and crazy shit like that. So one day I just go, you know what? I think this is a little too bitter, angry comedian level now and not radio guy level. I'm going to go ahead and walk away from this one. I'm going to go ahead and take my chips, bring it to the cashier's window and say I'm done. But like Michael Corleone in The Godfather Part 3, they keep pulling me back in. Now I find out that I'm beating somebody up. I'm hitting them in the eye. I'm organizing hits against people. It's been a wild last couple of days.
Yeah, they said apparently you got Andrew Santino to go beat up Chad. They're saying that you organized Cheeto to go beat up Chad.
I heard that one too. No,
am I confused?
A friend of mine and longtime advertiser on the Steel Toe show, who's also hosting our 9th anniversary party Saturday, August 12th. Cheetos, yeah, they developed this grand conspiracy that an owner of a bar here in Minnesota beat the shit out of Chad Zumock for me, but then said, like Roose Bolton, he said, Anthony Cumia said, I don't, you're dealing with people, pardon my French. So it's hard to keep the stories together.
When you heard that accusation, though, that seems to be the theory that Chad's going with, that it's the Stonies guy, because allegedly that guy, whatever his name is, Blair White, I think his name is.
Blair White, yes.
Don't do that. No, let's not do that. I want to just go on the air and say that I think the Stonies guy is a really nice guy. I don't know him personally, but I get the vibe that he's a good American and a good, hardworking guy, and I don't want to have no problems with that kind of person.
You've seen pictures of him, haven't you? Yeah.
But yes, because I think that's the theory that he's going with. What about yourself, El Harible? Because you're pretty much in my position where we're on the peripherals, as they should say.
Right.
We're just watching and we're seeing all this shit unfold. And because I remember waking up and Chad was live streaming and his eye looks like Amy Schumer's, and you just think like, wow, that is rough going. And so for you, Harible, what was your thoughts on this and said accusations?
Well, I watch MLC pretty much almost every day, and I think everyone is ignoring.
Can I just interrupt you there? Have you seen the MLC where Kevin Brennan ranted about Gino?
Yes. Yes, I saw that one.
I love that one.
Is my favorite episode.
It is.
So I was watching the day, during the day before Chad got attacked, and all the evidence is there. It's just right there in front of our face. It is so obvious that Ray DeVito ordered the hit on Chad Zumock, and everyone is just totally ignoring it. He played this whole nice guy thing. I like everybody, but we saw him snap at the beginning of that MLC episode, and it was just obvious.
Can you see that scar there?
I do.
Guess who gave me that?
No, don't tell me.
Ray, the Crusher DeVito.
Yeah, or as we know him as Crusher Ray DeVito. That guy is a fucking animal. Did you hear what he did yesterday?
Yeah, he jumped. He had two guys jump Chad Zumock.
Oh my God!
But did you hear about
Something else?
What Ray did for breakfast?
No.
What?
He was walking through a park and he seen a lady with the baby, and he said, and he goes,
Oh.
"Oh, that's a really adorable baby."
No.
And he picked it up and headbutted, called it the
Ray.
N-word, and he spat in the woman's mouth, and he grabbed her tits and he bit one of them and he ran off with her underwear, and then he did a Shuley show.
What did he do for lunch?
Which one of those things is the most offensive?
True. I hope he was, eating vegan.
Yeah, well,
But El Harible, when you hear what Chad's what he's blaming it on,
Right.
do you think there's anything to that, or you just think it's paranoia?
I have to say, I think it's paranoia, but I mean, if these guys really said, you're in Kumia country or whatever the fuck they said, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. This whole thing just, there's nothing.
Jussie Smollett, you're in Kumia country. Yeah. And when the cops came, he had a noose still around his neck. It was insane.
Exactly. Chad was just walking home with his Subway sandwich, his bag of Skittles, and his Arizona iced tea. And then he just ran into these two individuals who him from behind. I don't know, man. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot more questions than answers here.
Can we say
it was 15 degrees? 15 degrees somehow too in Tampa.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know if we can say he was from behind. I think
I was going to say it sounded like he said he was stabbed from behind.
Although his face was definitely a.
Well, there was definitely a in his armor, was there not?
Oh man,
that was too far.
Not happening.
You know what I do think is the real unfortunate thing, because I get along with Chad, and I was watching.
That is unfortunate.
And I was watching Misery Loves Company yesterday, and it was like a 2.5 hour long episode, and you could literally see his eye swelling during the course of the show, and I think they've broke his orbital bone.
Well, he went to the hospital, he says, right? He said he went to the hospital. But Steel Toe's been in the boxing business. I've seen a few head blows. A black eye gets worse before it gets better. It's going to look pretty gross the next 2-3 days when it starts to turn green and black and blue, and then it kind of starts to slowly swell down.
Yeah. I have been in the ring quite a bit, Stevie Lou, but I wouldn't know anything about Chad's injury because I've never been drunk and fallen off my bike.
There you go.
See, that's one of the things, because when I initially seen that, I thought...
Didn't you say he shouldn't say it? You have to say allegedly? Because he said... What happened to the whole allegedly thing?
I said allegedly. You say allegedly when you're not sure it's fact.
Double down.
But my whole thing is...
wait a minute. How am I the asshole? My children,
no one said that.
My ex-wife, I'm the dick now?
I didn't say that.
If Stevie Lou's not out of here, I'm fucking leaving.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of things getting better before they get worse, I want to thank you to my sponsors. Go see Scream 6. It's actually pretty fucking good. But I have to say, I don't think the Chad fell over drunk, because the drunkest I've ever been, and I'm kind of on it right now, and and the fucking all the falls I've had, you always put your hands up to somehow deflect your beautiful face, as you can see here. El Harible is so gorgeous that I legally told him, you better fucking cover up those cheekbones or you're off the show.
That's it. You're right.
But I definitely think he was jumped. But I've got to say, the main thing about this Chad stuff is, I think this is the typical shit that comes from podcast wars, in that people definitely cross the line making jokes, and Chad definitely like it was funny because it's so awkward, but when he threatened April. Like, I can understand why you didn't find that funny. Like,
Right.
after I stopped whacking off thinking about it, I was like, I think he crossed the line.
Yeah, well, understandable. Look, I don't ask other people to share my beefs. I don't ask other people to share my offenses. I understand.
Yeah.
He's sharing his kink, though. He's sharing his kink with you right now. I hope you're okay with that.
God bless him, right?
Yeah. I should have sent Blair White the link. He's that guy's got nice hips. But I think that the real problem that comes from this is that it's the listeners who then take it too far. And then I take these podcast wars of like, oh, you're not a Zumock fan, well, fuck you, or you like Cumia, fuck you. Instead of just doing what I do and kicking back on the latrine and enjoy the shows.
But do you think these were actual Cumia fans, or were they fans of someone else and using Cumia to throw using
Cumia to throw it off?
I'll be very honest. First of all, you're trusting a man who's lied about almost everything. So let's not take it at face value. If it's not the bike thing, it's drunkenly mouthing off to someone and getting the shit kicked out of you. I mean, I just don't see anyone investing that much energy into the guy. I was talking to Mersh from Nightwave Radio from Revenge of the Sis, and he was saying, I've lived in Tampa for years. I've done a show. Yes, I'm very sorry. But he was saying I've had people fucking with me for 3 or 4 years. He goes, never once do they show up in real life. Never once do they. And let's be honest, that show is far bigger than anything Chad does. Or I just have a hard time believing this was anything podcast related. This is a guy who doesn't have any content. And what happened was something happened to him and he went, oh, wait. I can use this. And he's also, I mean, let's not forget, he's a punching bag on his show. What better way to be a punching bag than literally talk about how you've been punched? I mean, let's try to remember the history here as we kind of put this whole case together, if you will.
Real quick with that. I think that you're on to some good points here. I mean, as of today, he's now claiming that there was video, which we all kind of suspected. This day and age, everyone's got a Ring camera on the front of their door, especially down in Florida. Apparently, the authorities have said they do have footage of the attack. Now, that's what I'm going with right now is that, yes, he was attacked, but he made up they said, don't fuck with Cumia thing. Either he made that up or whoever was fucking with him used that as a MacGuffin to throw whatever. These people sound like, and again, don't have them coming after me now for saying this, but whoever did this do not sound like high-level criminals. You know what I mean? They sound like kind of, again, I'll just keep it at that because I'm like, I got to watch my back now, But like I said, I don't think that, because, okay, my point is that Anthony Cumia has been in the radio business since 1997, 98. He's had hundreds of beefs. Much worse than Chad Zumock, and no one's laid a finger on no one before this. So now suddenly in 2023, people are going to that extent for him. That doesn't add up to me.
Yeah. Well, and also the accusation that it was Cheetos, of course. They're running with that one. I can guarantee you this. The bar owner from Rockville, the guy I've known for years, he doesn't know who the fuck Anthony Cumia is.
He's not going to throw away his whole business to beat up.
No, he's not. He's not going to throw away his fun biker dive bar in central Minnesota to beat up a 50-year-old curtain jerker. No. Yeah,
and really quick, you said they. It's that dirty, rotten, sniveling piece of shit, Patrick Melton, who's trying to push that idea. So I just want to make sure that's clear. It's not like they. It's not a group of people. It's one person, and it's one fucking loser scumbag who you could smell his fucking eczema through the screen. I've never seen that where you can smell someone's fat-based eczema emanate through the fucking stream into your nose.
It's fucking crazy.
Holy shit.
Know.
You actually you've expended the energy to hate that stupid fuck. I just look at him and he's kind of one of those guys that I look at and I go, oh, he's so see-through. Like, this is a desperate attempt to try and gain some traction.
He's gonna love the fuck out of this. But apparently, I was told, I got word just now that Red Bar worked them over pretty bad once before. So if anyone, I'm gonna stop here. and
Red
just
Bar's
go
been
back.
working him over for about 20 years now.
That's what I was told. People were like, stop, leave him alone. He's traumatized still from the beating that Red Bar gave him. So just let him do his thing and leave him alone. He's been around for a long time. He's like an old dog. Don't fucking get too close to him. He smells and he might bite you if you get close. So,
the mangy Patrick Melton.
Yeah.
But apparently, I'm on Patrick Melton's shit list now for some reason. Because I had a few DMs last night, and people saying, "Oh, he was talking about you on his show," and I'm like, "Who the flip is this flipping guy?" Because I talk like that when I'm drinking. I don't give a care.
Is that the NLO guy? Because I don't know who we're talking about.
That's pretty normal.
Is that who we're talking about, though?
Yeah, that's
okay. I just know him as that.
But would you say, Aaron, that, and obviously it was way more personal for you, so nobody's saying, "Oh, get over it." But do you think that the podcast wars, like with you and Chad, that it has gone too far?
Yeah, I mean, I said that a couple weeks ago when I said, look, man, it's one of those things where you can have this weird, stupid internet pride where you go, no, I'm going to be the last one to say a thing, or I'm going to be. If you look at a guy like Chad, you can see immediately, this isn't a guy who just goes, all right, I'm bored. I'm done now. So if it's ever going to stop, you have to be the one to go, look, I have a fucking life. I've got shit to do. I've got a show that I enjoy doing. At what point is there a law of diminishing returns? Also, any shitting on Chad Zumock I was ever going to do was going to be based in his performance. I think I've made my point. There's literally a playlist on our channel where you can go see what I think of the comedic chops of Chad Zumock. So, I think I had no problem going, you know what? This got too hot. This got too serious. And also, Hughezy, being a wrestling fan, what I didn't realize, because like April, we go out and we do stuff after the show's over. What we didn't know about this community of podcasts, those guys live the gimmick. And I don't. Like, I'm doing a show. I let it be known. I'm doing a show. I'm performing, and then I go off. I do my shit. Chad lives the gimmick. And like, I can't do that. I've got too much shit to do to live the gimmick. So I have no problem going, you know what? Yeah, it's one of us has to pump the brakes on this thing, and I have no problem with it being me.
Yeah, because I think that, because I say this often and people sort of laugh me off, but I think Chad is a funny, witty guy, but he has a really bad habit of reacting to criticism with anger instead of comedy. So then it goes from being somebody bust his ball. There's a famous story Jackie Martlin told where Andrew Dice Clay once went to a comedy roast in character, and this was a non-televised roast, and somebody did a joke, "Oh, Andrew Dice Clay's here," and blah, blah, blah. And at the roast, Dice in character was like, "What the fuck did you say about me?" And so he lost it and it's like while that's funny for us, that's kind of nuts for a comedian to react angrily instead of funnily. But I've got another question I got asked for El Hariri.
Oh, really quick, I felt like Dice was in the room with me. That Dice impression
really
that's better than Anthony's.
Yeah,
that's better than the Ant-Man.
Well, here's an impression for you.
There you go.
It's me, Rodney Dangerfield.
Whoa,
that was actually me.
Respect.
Was that a drop? Did you play? So you hit a button?
All me. Hey, Denzel Washington's in the house. Black people have dealt with racism.
Raise the roof.
That sounds bad.
I can't. How can we compete?
You have a party over there? Or the people? I thought Rodney was dead.
There's a party, okay. Hey! But I gotta ask Ella Harible, because for me, it's because we say me and you are pretty much in the same boat in that we say no women or children.
Right.
But we also love the drama. But do you think that as a podcast wars commentator that it's going too far?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like, I'm all about, you comment on what the other party broadcasts. You comment on their show. You comment on what they put on the internet. You don't go after families and stuff like that. It's once the things get personal and that kind of stuff for the civilians, the people who aren't involved in any of this. Aaron's ex-wife, she didn't choose to be a part of the show or anything, and she's not. She has her own life. So for Chad to go after her and his kids and all that stuff, yeah, it's total bullshit, man.
Yeah, and when you have that's not only that, but like she has her own shit going on, and then she hears that this fucking lunatic is like bringing her name into it. Now I start getting fucking ex-wives, ex-husband relationships are not good, and I don't think I'm telling any trails on school there. But then I start getting phone calls, and not just from her, but I think we can put two and two together here. So then I go, at one point I try to warn another party who's, lumped into these podcast things. I send them off a text, actually 3 or 4 texts, but only one got sent out. That's fun. I sent out a text like, look, man, this is the heat I'm under. I like you. I'm trying my best to make sure that the people I'm talking to right now know that you're not part of this. And that got turned into Aaron's threatening people. No, Aaron's being threatened. And Aaron's trying to make sure that Aaron's trying to contain this fucking atom bomb that's been dropped in his lap and trying not to get like peripheral people affected by it. That's kind of when I tried to do that. And then it turned into a whole pro wrestling angle. That's what opened my eyes and made me go, I need to tap out of this shit. I got to get out of this because I'm doing this for fun. And other people are like trying to create storylines and shit. And then private messages are not private. It's all for the show. And DMs are not, friends trying to communicate with each other. It's all for the show. Nah, I got it. For me, again, it's that old school radio thing. I got to have a life and then I got to have a show. And for me, I like having a clear line between the two.
But a question I would ask.
He's got to have a shave too.
Oh.
I'm trying, all right?
Yeah.
Trying.
Who are you? Razor Ramon? Come on. Give it up for me. Give it up for that junket.
Chico.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Interesting.
He's got a toothpick.
Interesting NWO fact, by the way. I interviewed Eric Bischoff once the day before my birthday, and as a gift he made me an official NWO member, so that makes it real. And
wow,
Ray DeVito killed Scott Hall.
Oh my
what?
God,
Ray DeVito's a piece of shit. I can't wait to get my hands on him.
I heard that Ray DeVito framed Jimmy Snuka also.
Yeah,
I want to go on record and say that.
Did you hear it's leaked out that Ray DeVito had been DMing the whereabouts of Nancy Benoit?
What?
And
oh my God.
I would have done that.
Yeah, Ray DeVito's a piece of shit. He's going down.
Hughezy, you said it leaked out. Are we talking about Karen Margolis here?
Oh, God. But Stevie, of course, with the Chad stuff, and of course, you're one of the pillars of the Sad Chad podcast.
Thank you.
Which I went on and defended Chad before endless jokes about farting and shits because I'm 38 years old. But I've got to ask, for you, from your perspective, Stevie, when you seen the footage and the photographs of Chad's face, did you think that this was gone too far, or did you think that maybe Chad had put himself in this situation?
Dude, the first thing I thought when I saw that, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was one of these Instagram filters that you could use. I thought it was literally like a Corndiff or a Cardiff. Right. Shout out to both of those guys. I thought he was using some sort of high-end CGI software with face tracking. But, pretty soon thereafter, that cloud faded, and I was like, oh, yeah, he actually did get his ass beat. Now, here's where I'm at. I'm not Mahatma Gandhi. I want to be a better person. I am skinny. I get it. I look a little bit like him if I take the shirt off, but I'm not this kind of person who can just let bygones be bygones and be the better person. I would like to say that children, personal messages, family, people that don't want to be involved are off limits, but other people have already taken those steps to cross that line. So why the fuck do we all have to now be fucking angels when we're dealing with a bunch of devils? So I hate to say it that I never would condone someone to go do that to him. And I actually do empathize a little bit with this situation because I've sadly had my ass kicked in by a couple of guys before, more than once. So I get how, I get how much that actually does hurt and how much.
This is for Anthony Cumia's desk, Stevie Lou.
You're in desk country, boy.
So
you leave Eastside Dave alone.
Yeah. No, God, shout out to Eastside Dave and that crew. I'm a little bit conflicted right now. I swear.
This is Flucci country.
If I had flute marks on the side of my head one day, you know what happened.
Hey, I've got something she could fucking blow into.
Yeah, so I'm
gonna to Roy Harder's tune now.
Yeah, shout out to Roy, my boy. It was just his birthday. Shout out to Roy Harder. But here, like, I'll sound like a hypocrite because I kind of, in a joking fashion, in this Stevie Lou character piece that I'm doing here, I did say that I was going to drag Chad like a bag of garbage to the sidewalk if he came to New York City. So I did kind of use some physical threat terms once or twice towards him. You know what I mean? So to then just go like, oh my God, you can't do that. I may sound a bit like a hypocrite, but I want to be really, really straightforward here and say that I was never planning on really physically trying to hurt Chad Zumock, you know, and I do not want someone to do that. So
your threat sounds more like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon than it does real life, like the chicken hawk with foghorn leghorns dragging Chad Zumock like garbage. I don't think that really sounds more like, you know, if you come down to the Plaza, Kennedy, I'm coming for you, you know?
I think someone reminded me I did have a roll of duct tape, and I said that I was going to duct tape them up real good. So that's not like, that's kind of funny, but looking back and seeing this severity, that's like in poor taste, I guess. And I learned from that. It's just like the old Patrice thing, you know? You go for the joke, some of them land in the fucking stands, and some of them fucking nip off your balls.
Well, I can answer your question. The question you had about like, oh, if he's being a devil, why do we have to back off or anything like that? My answer to that would simply be, it's not for them, it's for me. Like I look at like us doing a show and building a show. We've been on YouTube less than a year. I don't want to be 60 and have to do that shit. Like, I'm serious. That's what I've learned kind of in the last couple of weeks is like, I'm going to be 60 years old and I'm going to be shouting about other people with 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I don't want to do that. So if I move on now, I'll take the hit and then I'll keep going and keep doing my show and keep having success and whatever. And I don't want it to, because like you said, this shit doesn't end until you decide you're out. So I don't want it to be 24 years later and I'm sitting here going, Stevie Lou's. I don't want to do that.
Throw him out or I'm leaving.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in fairness, Gino's already almost that age.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know, Stevie Lee won't be able to hear this because I've got myself muted. I've heard that he's dating Ray DeVito in real life. Hang on, I'll unmute myself. Hey, sorry, Steve, I was having a shave. But Aaron, I've got a question I got to ask. And again, this is 100% non-confrontational. I'm not trying to argue. I like to leave that up to Stevie Lou to fight with people. But we can all agree that this craziness has gotten very personal and definitely cross lines with the Chad stuff. So it's just because it's so inappropriate that it's kind of funny. And him talking about the ex-wives and stuff like it does cross a line of comedy roasting. But then there's also footage come out of you joking about Stuttering John's son, daughter, whatever the fuck, Blair White. Do you think though that's more a case of something as you learn as you go along, if that makes sense?
Not only you learn as you go, but like it's also stuff that like 18 other people have like thrown out there, and John himself has put it out there, and John has made that available kind of to people. But yeah, I'd say I would say if we're going on a degree of shittiness, that's about a 3 or a 4 versus that. And I think you're right. I think it's learn as you go. Because at least I'm standing here now going, yeah, it probably shouldn't do that. Like, I'm not a saint. Like, I think there's a difference between being a hypocrite and fucking up and going, yeah, that's a fuck up. Like, you're always going to make a mistake, and you can't get too caught up in the podcast war shit that you can't go, hey, you know what? Wait, before I get myself into an indefensible position here, why don't I take a step back and go, you know what? I was getting caught up in this fun community, this movement. And let's be very honest, there's actually very little range to talk about with that guy. So we all kind of go over the same ground over and over. And I hit a point that I shouldn't have hit. Like, you shouldn't talk about that. I don't think anybody should go to that point. I do think the people who talked about that, though, would talk about it as like a way to expose John's hypocrisy on other things. But I think you're right. I think there's better ways to expose John being a hypocrite than talking about what is really sensitive. So I would say, yeah, if I could go back 5-6 months, would I follow the crowd and make that joke? No.
Also,
that's wrong.
Hold on, really quick. Hughezy, someone pulled a fucking 7-second clip from this guy who does fucking 7 hours, 3 days a week, and then just 5 hours for, like, he does 30 hours a week of air, and they pulled a 7-second clip. I mean, and people are trying to roast his balls on that. Come on, guys.
I appreciate that, but like, here's where you don't have to keep fighting the same battles. If you just go, yeah, I'm sure if I played the context of that, I could defend it in a comedic sense, but why? Fuck it. If I could do it again, I wouldn't do it. I'd take it back, and that's not the way.
I like that.
I mean, I respect that. Fucking easy. Do you know how fewer people on the internet would get the shit kicked out of them? How fewer people on the internet would have problems of their own and these never-ending beefs if they were able to just go one or two times, go, oh, you know that thing I did yesterday? Yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, that was fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. That was a little too far. We continue on today.
Hey, you know who had never-ending beef?
Ray DeVito,
Amy Schumer, and it was for lunch.
Oh,
but that wasn't like coming at you with that, because like I've crossed the line many times. Like, I did a thing 2 days ago where I hired 2 guys to jump a guy in Florida. I'm not giving away the name, and I thought, oops. I thought, oh, SpaghettiOs. But just
of course, Hughezy, you feel like you've gone too far, accusing, say, like certain wrestlers of certain things.
Hey, if you smell what I'm cooking, that guy's got shit on his dick. But the on a final Chad note, because I always think, because you mentioned, of course, when Chad said, the guys said that don't fuck with Cormier, and then Chad publicly says that, I don't think Cormier has anything to do with this. Even though, and I have to admit, it makes for amazing content on MLC. By the way, in the most recent episode of MLC, Kevin Brennan ranted about Gino. You should join the Patreon.
Oh.
Yeah, and
really?
Yeah, I think that deep down, Chad doesn't want to be in a feud with Cormier. Because it's the Ant-Man, Anthony Cormier. So, and I think that in a way, Brennan and Cormier and all those guys will be fine soon. I think that even Chad and Chrissy will at one point be okay, despite the fact that it's been like years of insane insults. So that's a long-winded question to say that. Do you think, Aaron, that eventually at some point you and Chad, not that you'll be like going on vacation and best friends, going to see Scream 7, but do you think that you guys will be cool at some point down the line, baby?
No, I'm fine with the way it is now. Like, I'm fine with going, just going like this, no more content coverage, anything like that. I'm not comfortable with the level it went to, so I leave. Like, I don't believe in that whole, oh, he ran away, so it's an L. Yeah, okay. I mean, if that's what you need, then go for it. Then that's a W. If you need to go to that level to get a W, that's not a world I want to be in. I'm tapping out. So I don't need like a reconciliation. I'm fine. I tapped out of this because I went, that's just going to be better for me. I don't need to keep, staying on this ride over and over. I also know from experience, I mean, I've been doing broadcasting for 15, 16 years now. Guys who rely on stuff like this for content, the fuse burns hot, but the fuse burns short. So I don't know how long, unless you change how you do a show, unless you change how you deliver content, that's not going to be around long enough for there to be a reconciliation.
Dude, that was like a promo. That was like a WWE promo right there. He was like, the fuse runs hot.
Yeah, well, the fuse runs hot. Yeah, fuse runs short. Yeah, and then
This is where the power lies, brother. Yeah.
Light the fuse, Hulk Hogan.
I
will tell you. Blow up to reach parts of
Chad Zumock, you said you're going to Elizabeth. Yeah. I don't want anybody Elizabeth. Yeah.
I'm going to break down.
Apart from Lex Luger, and we're going to win the tag titles, brother.
Well, you see, baby, his eyes all swollen up, all funky like a monkey, baby, and there ain't gonna be nothing left of that eyeball come Starcade, baby, because there's gonna be Chad Zumock eyeballs all over the Omni.
Hey, Chad Zumock, you son of a bitch. I heard you goddamn talking trash. Well, I'm going to go over to your house, and I'm going to suck your dick until blood comes out of your ass.
What? If you smell what this gay guy is cooking.
And Chad Zumock, if you don't stop making threats on MLC, you're
fired.
Every time we hit you in the eyeball, holding it saying,
hold on.
Rush.
Hold on. El Harible just did one. Ready? Go again.
Arriba!
That was Tito Santana. Yes.